How did these people that are the powerful people that even Barry Goldwater couldn't get up to, and President Carter couldn't get up to? President Trump is asked the other day by Logan Paul about UFOs. His answer was very generic. This one man told me that there are things up there, but he wasn't really given the answer.
Well, no, I mean, because as what president said, "I'm only the president." Oh, there was some, and that's true. I mean, it's like the comedy, but that needs to change. Now, there are people I know who are very good friends with Mr. Trump, and I actually met with Mr. Biden when he was chairman of Foreign Relations Committee back a long time ago, but he wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Who is the most powerful person in America?
Oh, I don't think anybody would probably know their name. Yeah, they're sort of behind the scenes, but certainly people on this committee, like Admiral Wilson. Now, here's a lineage. He was deputy director of CIA. Then he was the director of the National Security Agency. Then he moved on to the board of, wait for it, Science Applications International Corporation.
Who's this?
Admiral Bobby Randman. Mm-hmm. So if you look at that, often there's a trajectory where they're brought in and brought up. But where they end up, the revolving door out of government and senior military intelligence, I keep seeing this pattern that the center of gravity are in these big contracting entities like SAIC and Raytheon and Northrop and Lockheed and so forth. So that's where the action is. I think the center of gravity isn't in the government at all.
Was Mr. Bush Sr. ever one of these high-ranking people that was on the inside, or no?
Oh, absolutely. George H.W. Bush?
Yes.
Yes. W, no. But George H.W. Bush, he was the one who threatened Bill Clinton. But stay quiet. There's none of your business. I have a witness to Mr. Clinton sharing that.
George H.W. Bush Sr.
Yes, it's none of your business, butt out. Because Mr. Clinton had stood up what's called Red Team. Red Team was a military special operation. The Blue Team was conventional military. Black Team were these illegal operations. Clinton had authorized, I have a whole document on this. It's not in the archive, but it's definitely in my Dead Man Trigger. That was called Red Team. And these were people trying to infiltrate these illegal black projects, but most of them either got absorbed or killed. And eventually, George H.W. Bush said, back off. This is none of your business.
Did he?
Oh, yeah, absolutely he did. That's why they became fast friends. And remember?
Did he? I do. Did he ever make it? Was Bush ever in a top 5 most powerful men in America, or no? Was he still? There's people above him that he's reporting to.
He would have been on the mid to upper level of that committee, 200-300 people. But George H.W. Bush was definitely involved. And I would say, ironically, Cheney more so, Mr. Cheney.
Cheney more so? Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Because of who he is. And
on the military-industrial complex, the money.
All the way back to what was he, Ford Defense Secretary? I mean, all the way back to 70s, 80s. Yeah, absolutely.
How powerful was Kissinger? Was he anybody?
Very. Oh, yes.
Okay, above a Cheney?
Sure, absolutely.
So he was one of the 200?
Mm-hmm. Sure, yes. Mr. Kissinger, yes.
What's your opinion on him?
It's unfortunate. I mean, I think he's a very brilliant man, but, I think he moved us in a lot of corrupt directions and harmful directions.
Such as?
This issue, for one, because, and I don't want to go too much. I mean, he's passed away, so it's irrelevant. I don't speak too badly of him. But, yeah, I think he would have been way high in that pecking order, but was very interested in, I hate to say this, subverting American power for global power. So this is a pattern you see. And it's not that I'm against international relations or all that, but there's a concerted effort, in my opinion, to subvert and make subordinate American power and interest to some of these global schemes and agendas. And Kissinger was really one of the original architects of that. But because you can't take this UAP UFO secrecy issue out of context with all of these other concerns, national security, world security, energy, financial. I mean, for heaven's sakes, the petrodollar, right, from Bretton Woods after World War II. The reserve currency of the world is the dollar, but it's mainly because it's the petrodollar. It's the currency of exchange and trading in oil and commodities and everything else. So this is all extremely complicated. You release this information that we're not only are we not alone in the universe, but we've already figured out how they operate. And I will tell you right now, the extraterrestrial issue part of this is nowhere near as sensitive a secret as the part that deals with the technologies that we have, humans have, in the hands of people who are misusing them and are withholding the beneficial ones from humanity and from the planet. That is a much bigger secret.
So far, when I asked you, Barry Goldwater, he's there, but he's not as Bobby Ray Inman. Okay, so Bobby Ray Inman has more influence than he does.
Oh, way more.
Then I went to President Clinton, and you said, no, George H.W. Bush Sr. has more influence than he does. Great.
Did. He's passed away.
He's dead. He's passed away. Did. Then I asked you about Kissinger. No, then you said Dick Cheney was more powerful than Senior. Okay. Then I asked you Kissinger. You said, no, Kissinger was more in that community of that influence.
And very global with it.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and he had a very interesting reputation. Yep. Fascinating guy to study, by the way. Some of the things he said. Yeah. He said the illegal we can do fast. The unconstitutional takes a while. Said something like that.
He did. It's actually in our archive, that quote. Yeah. He said, the illegal we can do immediately. Yeah, no problem. Unconstitutional takes a little longer.
Interesting guy. Very interesting guy. Womanizer, playboy, liked at one point, sexiest man, I think, in 1972. All this stuff that you read about him. Interesting guy. Okay. So then go up above that. Who do you know that you will put even above Kissinger from the last 70 years that we would know about?
A name you would know. Right off the top of my head, I can't think of one. Certainly, some of the corporate folks that nobody would think of.
Tillerson?
Would be very powerful. Jack Welch of General Electric.
Jack Welch you would put ahead of?
Very high up. Now, at a certain point, it's not a pecking order. They collaborate, and I think what I understand, that committee collaborates, and it sort of squabbles. But, when I was first told about it, back in the early days, you used to talk about, there were these documents that got released called the Majestic 12, MJ-12. And nobody knows if they're authentic or not. I think they are largely authentic. But what's not in dispute is this NRO document from the 90s, and one of the compartment operations is MAJI, MAGI, or sometimes you'll see MAJIC, and it stands for the Majority Joint Intelligence Committee. And that is the group that is a joint entity on the U.S. end of this that deals with this subject. And that is in the document. You can pull it up. It's the National Reconnaissance Office document, Nellis Air Force Base, 1991.
So, can you pull up Majestic 12, Rob? I just want to read. Is this Majestic 12? Also known as Magic 12, is a organization that represents UFO conspiracy theories. The organizations claim to be the code name of an alleged secret committee of scientists, military leaders, and government officials formed in 1947 by an executive order by President Harry Truman to facilitate recovery investigation of alien spaceships, spacecrafts. The concept originated in a series of supposedly leaked secret government documents first circulated by ufologists in 1984.
Right.
Upon examination, the Federal Bureau FBI declared the documents to be complete bogus, and many ufologists considered them to be elaborate hoax. Majestic 12 remains popular among some UFO conspiracy theories, and the concept has appeared in popular culture, including television, film, and literature.
Here's what I think actually happened. If you want to hide something, you hide it in plain sight. So a great deal of information in those documents is true, but the way they came about was a hoax. So if you're involved with counterintelligence and information's coming out, you want to divert people to something that's the provenance is going to be a problem. And that way it takes them down. The National Security Agency guy described it to me this way. He was the right hand to General Odom back in the day, who was the director of the NSA. And he said, we call this a DDT operation. You set up a decoy, you distract people, and then you trash them. And so by releasing things that are of questionable provenance, then it can, you sort of put it out there, and much of the information may be correct, but because the provenance is bogus, it takes the information down with it. So one of the things that's very complicated is understanding how counterintelligence and disinformation works on this. It's Byzantine, it's complicated, it takes a lot to unravel it. And that's why I tend to be very careful with both witnesses and documents if I don't have a good provenance for it. So, I mean, that is something that's hard to do when you're trying to run an operation like we do without any, real clearance. I mean, you have to rely on people and their credibility and what documentation they can prove. And I think what's most important, the reason I'm releasing this archive, is that if you go through it carefully, you see where the dots all connect. But these intelligence briefings we're working on, the modules, we call these intelligence modules, when those get put in, it's going to connect all these dots. And that's a big undertaking that we're working on right now.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.